Um, I'm not really sure how to start this review. This is one of those movies, man. When I first saw this film, I had no idea what to make of it. I kind of almost came close to hating it, but there was something about the movie, something about the adventures of Buckaroo Banzai and the Eighth Dimension that made it charming enough that I just couldn't hate it. There was just something about it. It was sort of it was sort of the first movie experience that I had in a long while that made me feel this way. I was just totally confused. So I decided to watch it again the next week. And eventually I watched it again. And I'll have to admit, I kind of ended up loving it. I think this might be one of those great cult classic masterpieces from the 80s, and I feel like I'm part of that cult. And really, if you really think about Buckaroo Banzai, it's a film that shouldn't work. There are so many things that should make this movie terrible. Like, it's so adamant in not explaining anything that's going on, to the point where a first viewer might get really confused. And if there's like an objective, like a genuine technical flaw in the film, the sound design is not really that good. Like, sometimes you'll see these two characters having a conversation, but it will be so muffled, or they'll be mumbling way too much, and it's genuinely not audible at all. Particularly, there's this one scene where they're at Buckaroo Banzai's place, and like some villains came into the place, and they're about to like spread out to look for the bad guys, and the last two guys in the hallway talk about their weapons or whatever, and it's genuinely not audible. You had to like really listen carefully to hear what they're saying. So clearly, the mics or the sound design in general or the sound editing is just not good here. And the acting is either like extreme deadpan or like cartoonishly over the top. There's never like a middle point. So in many ways, this film should not work. Like, like even the plot, like, it seems coherent on paper. When you like look back on the movie in hindsight, you're like, oh yeah, it's actually kind of a simple story. But when you're watching it, and when you start asking questions, you're like, what the hell's going on? So in many ways, this film shouldn't work, but somehow it comes together in a mishmash of weirdness, and it just sort of works. Like, it's coherent enough, and I don't know, like, it just throws you into this world that this film inhabits without explaining anything. Like, right off the bat, you see these characters, and it's like they're already just established characters. They're doing an experiment. Why are they doing it? We have no time to explain that. You know, we're just gonna throw you into this whole experiment. Then there are like these guys, like dancing weird moves inside a mountain. You're like, what the hell's going on? And later on, they explain it. But within the first 10 minutes of the movie, you're like, I don't get it. I don't get anything. But eventually, the film starts to really rely on its quirky charms, and you sort of fall into it. And as long as you get into those charms, and as long as you get what's going on, like, within, like, 30 minutes into the movie, the exposition becomes completely meaningless. And I think that's one of the most interesting things about the film. The film is so adamantly trying to tell you that it's already fully established that there are no exposition scenes here. There are no scenes where they go just explain really boring technical stuff to the audience. The film is like, yeah, we think you're smart enough to understand what's going on. We're gonna throw you all this stuff, and we're gonna rely on you to understand it. And it's not like we're just gonna throw random stuff that doesn't make any sense when it comes together. No, we're gonna throw you stuff that makes sense. We're just not gonna explain that much. And, you know, if you really think about it, the film really doesn't need to explain anything. Like, do we need a backstory for Buckaroo Banzai's group? Well, no. Like, the point of the group should be that they should really sort of exude a sense of camaraderie. And when you watch the movie, you cannot deny the fact that these guys feel like a team. So their backstories are pointless, because the point of the group is not to have a backstory, it's to show camaraderie. Like, is the backstory about the dead wife and the lost sister important to the film? No, the dead wife is not important to the plot at all. So, as long as you just reference it, it's fine. You don't need to explain anything. Should they explain the technology? No, that's like one of the problems that most science fiction films kind of suffer from. They explain way too much. And this film's like, well, understanding the technology is not that important. What's important for you to enjoy the spectacle of it all. And the film seems to understand that. Do we need to understand the alien stuff? Well, as long as it makes sense by the end, or as long as it just doesn't hinder the flow of the film and the story, it doesn't really matter. There are no explanations needed. The film basically points at you as an audience and says, don't think too much. We're doing whatever the hell we want, and we want you to enjoy the freewheelness that we're trying to encompass here. And I don't know, like, I feel like when I'm watching this movie, I think the point is to not ask any questions. Like questions like, why did the good aliens send that, like, equation to Buckaroo Banzai if the bad aliens are going to use that to do whatever they want to do? And obviously the good aliens don't like the bad aliens, so why did they basically enable the bad aliens to do their deeds? It doesn't make any sense. Or why is there the famous thing, why is there a watermelon there? Why is Jeff Goldblum in a cowboy costume? Eventually, the question comes to this. Why is there a watermelon there? Why not? That's really the question that the film throws back at you. Why not this? Why not that? What's stopping us from doing whatever we want to do as long as we tell a coherent story? And that's the amazing thing about the film. As weird as it is, as random as it becomes, and as strange as it is when it comes to the small details, the story is actually really coherent. Like, you can easily ask, why is there like a gas station that's also a couch emporium? And the film is like, who cares? The story makes sense. It's interesting to watch. Why is the reason important? Just enjoy the fact that the film is freewheeling. Like, enjoy the subtle humor. Enjoy, like, that kind of breaks every serious facade that the film tries to take. Enjoy John Lithgow's greatest performance, quite possibly. Enjoy the practical effects and the terribly aged green screen stuff. It's a film that really pushes away any form of sense and sensibility, and it really just decides to do whatever it wants, and it sort of helps you to let go of critical thinking. I feel like when you get into movies, and when you start enjoying films, you sort of force yourself to analyze movies, because when you don't analyze films, you feel like you didn't understand the whole thing. When you watch an Ingmar Bergman movie, you try to understand the symbolism and what it's trying to say and what every shot is trying to do. This film is basically saying, screw that. What a film should be is not a statement. It should be a person enjoying making something that they want to make. This film is so independent in the truest sense that it's sort of inspiring. It's like, you can see how it was also like really influenced by Monty Python, because Monty Python sort of has the same mentality. Why can't we do this? Because to us, it makes sense, so we're just going to put it in there. This movie basically has the same mentality. Why not do this? Why not do that, as long as it makes sense, as long as the story's there, as long as it's a film? The possibilities are endless. Like, you can see the similarities with this movie and like Valerie and Her Week of Wonders, or Daisies, or even films like Tampopo. It's, I don't know, something about it feels so what's the right word? It feels so inspiring. It feels so free. It's genuinely entertaining, and it's funny at times, and there's something very genuine about it. Like when you see like movies of kids making short films, and whenever something weird happens, you just kind of laugh at it because it's a kids movie. A kid is making a short film in his backyard, so obviously it's not going to be the most coherent thing. In many ways, Buckaroo Banzai is basically that backyard movie made into a much more big budget film. It's random. At times it's so weird to the point where you kind of feel lost, but it's clearly passionate, and like I said, there's such a strong sense of freedom here that I just don't see in movies, and maybe I'm just not able to see that sense of freedom in movies now because I've seen so many of them. This Buckaroo Banzai kind of helped me to get out of that overly serious headspace and see movies as what they are. It's a form of expression. It's not an essay. And I think that's a pretty good reason why Buckaroo Banzai should be considered a masterpiece. At least to me. So yeah, it's pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good. Even though Peter Weller gives like the most deadpan performance ever. It kind of works though. Yeah, I think it's great. And I hope you think it's great. Give it a couple viewings. I don't think the first viewing will completely take you in. So yeah, bye.